welcome to the Beauty Boss Saga. We are here with my best friend, my sweet, sweet friend, Brandy Brokaw. And with you, you have so much business experience, you have life experience. I mean, you're just everything that someone would pray for in a friend. So I just wanted to bring you on here and talk to you a little bit about just life and what's been going on with you. And maybe we could start how we met. And that was back in 2015.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It feels like just like yesterday, but
Yeah, I know, right?
it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot.
A lot.
Girl, we've gone through it.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for saying, and first of all, for being here. And, I'm so excited for what you've got going on and just to celebrate you and, all that God's doing in your life and your family and in you personally, just watching you totally grow and just become. It's been fun. And just, the good, the bad, and the ugly, they say. But
all of it.
Thank you. Thank you for that compliment, because I really feel like for such a time as this, like we've seen a lot, and I feel like we've really overcome, and we've and then there's times we're like, are we there? Are we there? Have we made it? I don't know. We're making it. But no, I love that, to watch your life as well be, filled with challenge, but yet you've embraced the change through it all. And I think that's really amazing. And so, thanks for having me here. I love being around, amazing women who are just determined to push through and not that we don't break down, but just like the decision and the perspective of I can either break down or I can break through. Yeah. And that's where we're at. We're breaking through in these seasons. So good for us. High five. Whoop, whoop.
High five. We got it.
We're
still here.
We've really had a lot of fun, and I feel like God did put us together all those years back, and for such a time as this, to sharpen each other. I think that's the best part about meeting people on this journey of life, where you're like, man, we're totally opposite, but yet at the same time, man, we're speaking the same language.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So definitely we're going to back it up back into 2015. I just want to tell you and everybody who's watching that when you said God brought us together, I totally, hands down, that is exactly what was happening. And through those moments, I was actually crumbling on the inside. I was going through a divorce. I remember the first time I met you, I was looking at some product. We met through a product company. And I remember calling my mom, and I had the worst weekend ever because I work weekends, hair and makeup on the weekends. And I missed my baby, and she was 3-ish around that time. Yeah. And I remember calling my mom on the way to come meet you and being like, I don't want to go.
Poor mission, turn the car around.
Yeah, I just want to turn the car around. I just want to see my baby. I don't want to do this. And she's like, Emily, just go. Just go. It's okay. And so then I went in and, of course, reviewed the product, because at the time I had was using major brands like MAC and all of that, and I had an issue with someone had a allergy, and when I called those companies, they would not allow me to know what was in the product, and I'm like, that's sketchy.
Isn't that interesting? We don't want you to know what's in it. We have secrets.
Yes.
You're like, well, is this killing me? Am I going to be all right?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, just say yes or no if this certain ingredient is in there. We can't really know. It's like a percentage. We don't know. And I'm like, okay.
Isn't that interesting?
That's weird. Okay.
Even the makers don't know what's in it?
Yeah.
I think there's a red flag.
Yeah, red flag, red flag. So I was really frustrated at that point. So that's what kind of sparked me to come and see. And you asked me, you said, so are you married? Do you have kids? And I was like, I have a daughter. And at that time, the divorce was final, but it hadn't been signed. So I was like, I'm technically not married.
How do you answer this?
Yeah.
I'm there.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm married or not or whatever. And the first thing you said, can I pray with you? And so we prayed together, and I just really all the hard shell. And I had been hurt along the way, and I was hurting, and it just kind of all fell off at that point. And there was still some time, getting to know each other, and then realizing, life happens, and there was a lot of behind the scenes stuff during that time in your life specifically that I was like, time out, because there was everything, like being a friend, spending time around people, you start to see the fruit of, things that happen in their life. And you were actually being really, mistreated. And I was like, whoa, hey, hang on. Like, no, you're not going to be mistreat my friend. You know what I mean? So then I feel like God during that time period, we always talk about, is the juice worth the squeeze? Yeah. And God was, squeezing, or allowing us to be squeezed.
I think we were both being so squeezed. Like, yeah. We were like, I don't think I've ever been so more squeezed in my life. Like, when they say, like, when the diamond has to go through the fire to become what it's created to be. Yes. Right? And then it's like, man, I'm like, I know we were diamonds in there, but we were definitely being, chiseled out at that moment, and still are. And I think so many cases. And like you mentioned, you just never know, for one reason, how God takes you, meeting, especially like you're talking about, like us meeting, and then who would ever know where we are today? And just crazy. Like, because I meet so many people all over the world, and it's like, okay, how do we know which one sticks? How do we know those are our people? Yes. And I think, just like you mentioned from the Giddy Up, you can just recognize that spirit in someone that's like, no, that's my people, that's my tribe. Yeah. And just like we were created to be. Exactly. We are created to be.
Yeah. So all through that, and I often talk about a refining fire. It's not comfortable. You're being refined. Your situation doesn't define you, but it refines you. Right. And so finding that, even just to be transparent with somebody and being loved anyway is so valuable, and I feel like for us, that's how it is. You get what you get, and sometimes it's if we're not on the if there's stuff going on and you're going to tell me the truth, I'm going to tell you the truth of the matter. You might not want to hear it, might not be pretty. Yeah. But it's us, and
that in itself is so much value. If you have somebody in your life that will definitely tell you the truth and sharpen you and be that person that says, I love you, but this is what I see, and good, bad, and ugly, we need that. The Bible says iron sharpens iron, so if you think about that, and when you think about even that process, when iron is heated up and it's sharpened, it's not very fun, I'm sure, to be, rubbed together. Imagine, I remember one time, Emily, my daughter, she's like rubbing my same place on my arm, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I think you're fixing to start a fire. Like, that's not comfortable, and she's like, just rubbing. I'm like, what? And there is that where it's, we're being molded every single day, the way that we think, the people that we, get around, the people we haven't even met yet. Like, who are we when we, approach life or approach, situations, and, and I'm just so grateful that, God is so faithful. And I think that when we don't know what we need, He always does. Yes. And you were such a sweet, just person in my life that God gave me to just feel so loved. And thank you for that, because going through that hard time in that fire, like you're talking about, like, I came out on the other side, it's like, it says, like, go through the fire, but you won't be burned, even though you feel like you're on, you're being burned, it's, you're being chiseled out, you're being molded, and we're growing in spite of that. And so I just really think back on those days, and I remember you were always right there, just with the right words that I needed at the moment, and I didn't even know how to package that up. And I think that's what's so great at, just being so thankful. I think Thanksgiving is such a huge part and a bridge that carries us over troubled waters, is that Thanksgiving. Yeah. And I'm so thankful for you to, you're such a woman of just, like, I'm all over the place. I'm always like, like, where are we at? Who are we? What's my name? And yet you are always, like, just calm, and, like, I'm like, how does she just go so slow, but yet she makes so much impact, And I don't mean the slow in a bad way. I just mean like I'm 100% on 24/7. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, whoo. And the Lord has shown me in that, like just your example of just wait, take a second, and that's helped me a lot to have friends like you and just people in my life that have given me that example of I don't have to always run with my hair on fire.
Right.
And everything's going to be fine. Just working with a place of peace and rest within that we can get there. We can work at rest. Even though that doesn't mean we get, going to go grab bonbons and lay in our bed or watch TV, but we're still working, but we're working in that sense of rest and peace. And I think that we can get so much more accomplished and done when we just take a second and we just think through, and I swear I try to tell my kids this all the time, like, think before you speak, think before you just make these decisions.
Right.
As it was told to me, but like for whatever reason, we feel like we have to hurry. And I just feel like this world is about that, but now it's like turn around and getting to that position of like, no, slow your roll. Hold on, let's just stop and rein in that rest, pull in that rest and that peace.
Well, lean into it.
And lean in, exactly.
Yeah, lean into it. And God's got He's got the heavy lifting. He's got the timing. You don't have to worry about any of it, So that's one thing that I'm just like, oh man. And I try to instill in my kids too. It's really important to listen to the Holy Spirit. And it's a whisper. It's not anything that's going to be loud or rambunctious or any of that. God can move and you can run with it, but...
And it's so hard. Sometimes it's hard to hear the whisper when everything is so loud.
Oh, girl. I know.
And it's that training.
It's
that training of our flesh to say, stand down,
Right.
Our mind, our will, and our emotions, that's what it's... And we have to dethrone that because that can get so much in the way of what we are... where we're going, it can just absolutely steal from us. Sure. And when we work from a place of rest, or when, like you're saying, the assurance of knowing that God's going to do all that heavy lifting for us, all we have to do is wait on Him.
Right.
It's like, it's not, we can imagine like having to pick up something, and it's like, I'm picking it up before the truck is ready to load it up on there, and I'm for what? Like I can wait a second, and because I don't even have to pick that up,
Exactly.
and it's not even something God designed me to do, but we do it naturally because we feel like we have to. Everything's on us.
Right.
The pressure of life, being moms and being business women and being wives and being all the things we have to be, all the hats we have to wear, right? Like we feel like. It's like we're the captain of our ship. And I remember, Emily, when God told me a long time ago, He gives me visions and different things. And I remember He was like, I was on like a boat and I was going full steam ahead on the water. And I was like, had the captainship and I was like, onward, imagine. And like, and I'm all by myself on this boat. But yet at the same breath, I was just like, man, it was the pressure of life. And all of a sudden I started seeing these fish and they were jumping in the boat. And I was like, oh, wow, this is not a good sign. Like all these fish at one time, like what is happening? But all the fish had names on them.
Really?
And it had a name. And it was like, the one fish maybe had like, okay, man, the fear of my future. Or like fear of what if this doesn't happen, and then all these fish are jumping in the boat, and all of a sudden my boat started to sink.
Oh man.
Because this was just weight that we don't have to even worry about half the time. We worry so much about things that never even come to pass, and so all these things were jumping in the boat. And I remember, Emily, whenever I look over and I'm like, I'm aware that my boat is sinking because all this stuff is jumping in that's too much for me, and it's too heavy for the boat to handle. And I remember looking over, and it was like very aware, like on the side of the seashore there was Jesus, and He was standing there, and it was like I see Him seeing me and myself in my chaos. If I can imagine, I mean, got the captain ship onward, and I'm like pirate of my own ship, and I look over, and there He was. And I knew innately, like it was like He was calling me, saying, hey, do you see your circumstance? Do you see your boat sinking? I'm like, obviously, I see that. Like,
are you seeing this?
Do you see this? And it was like, I just knew that it was just like a prompting, like, hey, either you can stay in your sinking, drowning boat and you can go under, or you can just come to me and just get off the boat, just abort mission, just come to me. And I was like, okay. And I've always loved the story in the Bible where Peter walked on the water. And boy, my faith has always been super strong. Like I may be a many things, but I have got some strong faith and childlike faith. And so I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get to walk on the water, you know. And I did. I just by faith imagined myself just abandoning that ship of sinking, that it was going to sink anyway. And I knew where my hope was. And so I then at that point, just by faith, imagined, I was like, okay, I'm meeting Jesus. But the best part is he started meeting me. Right. And he was coming at me. And because I was in my head thinking, what if I sink like Peter? And, you know, like, wait, he only got a little bit of ways. But, you know, and I think that's all of us at times, you know. And it was such a sweet encounter for me, because when Jesus met me and then we turned our back, and I remember looking back and thinking, where's what's happened with the boat? And it was gone. It was under water. And I was so thankful, again, that, you know, God sees everything. He knows everything. He's there. He's seen all the rights, the wrongs, the whatevers, you know. And he was like really showing me something that day. And it was when I turned my back again towards where we were headed, the sea behind me disappeared. And at that point, it was nothing but a garden. And I looked down, and no longer do I have the captain, you know, with my hat on, and I'm trying to do all the things and be the captain of all the things. But I was realizing at that point, no, I was dressed in a robe, a beautiful, you know me, girl, I got the sequins, I got the gold, I got the glitter, just go ahead, you know, and I had this on, and I'm like, okay, you know, this is beautiful. And yet at the same place, I knew where my hope came from, and that I wasn't designed to do all the things. We're not designed to just do it all. We're designed to stay in that place of rest, hold hands with our Creator, and let Him give us, you know, a better view of what He's designed for us. And at that point, it was this garden. And this garden, He just took my hand in, and He was like, Brandy, I want to show you. I want to show you what I'm rearranging and what I want to plant and how I want you to grow in this season. And that's just, you know, it was such a relieving picture.
It's relief, that's what.
And I was like, I don't have to be His beloved. I get to be the beloved. And this is where this really came into me, where it was like the beloved. And I remember, you know, God really putting upon my heart, write it down. And when I wrote it down, I was like, okay, beloved, BELOVED. And it was that revelation that I got that day, that all God really wanted me to anchor down. If anything, my boat shouldn't be sinking. I should be anchoring down, you know, the anchor in the water, and it be just like God's perfect love for us is to cast out all fear. You know, God is His perfect love, cast out all fear. His perfect love guides us, and it can show us. And when I looked down at that word beloved, it was be loved. Be loved.
Be loved.
And I was like, oh, that's a posture. That's a point. Like, we're always doing, you know, to perform or whatever. And no, we're valuable apart from our performance. God wants us to be loved and just wait. And that to me today, with the world where it's at, and you know, everybody's striving and keeping up with the Joneses or whatever, or you know, it's that simple, just where we can stop and reign in His love and be loved by Him as He works it all out for our good. And I just think, man, that was such a revelation, and has been to me over, you know, the season of my life, where I can go back and remember His goodness, and that, you know, I don't have to strive. You know, we don't have to stress. We get to stroll through this thing at a peace and a leisure, like kind of like you, like I see you do when you're just like, I'm like, oh, she's strolling. You're like inside, am I? I don't know if I'm strolling, but I think it's just that sharpening each other to remind each other, like going back to that place of rest and waiting and worshiping and just for all that we need to believe that God's got it all worked out.
Right. And I feel like too, when you have gone through stuff, and yes, you're learning and you're growing and you're, you know, learning to lean in and listen to the whisper of the Holy Spirit, right? But recognizing and listening to God hear and say, that was never my intention for you. You know, that was never my intention for you to sit here and struggle and press forward and have to carry all of it. This is too heavy for you. Let me lift it. You know, my burden's light. Come with me. Follow me. Right? So that's one thing that I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm feeling the weight. I'm feeling the weight. Can you go and take this, please?
I know, because when you realize when you get squeezed, what comes out.
Yes.
Right? And that is what it's like, you know, the measuring stick is that fruit. You know, do we have enough fruit going on, you know, in our lives? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, selfishness. That is not fruit.
that's not what we
one
want.
that we don't want to do.
Yeah.
But no, you know, selflessness, you know, and, you know, I really think about that, and it's like, gosh, to take a second and just stop and be like, okay, is my life being fruitful? Are my thoughts fruitful? You know, to really do a checkup from the neck up with the measuring stick of, okay, how am I basing success? Like, is it on my definition or God's? And that's when I really started seeing a lot more success in my life, was when I started laying down the striving and the trying to do it my way. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this love thing.
Let
me try this out. Like, I don't know. And when you've been so, when you, like, for me, I feel like love was hard to define or figure out, because love for me had been so skewed, and love for me had been so broken. And it's like, for probably a lot of people, you know, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could trust love. You know, I mean, I know, like, we know that it's hard, you know, when you've been disappointed and let down and betrayed and backstabbed, and you've also let down people or whatever, and it's vice versa, and then you just get into this whirlwind of, God, what do you want me to know from this? And as long as we're growing from the things that we've come out of, or even being intentional for the places we're walking into, you know, it's like, then I feel like there's confidence that overpours from just stopping and saying, okay, let me really think about this. Let me think about why I'm doing this, or why, you know, I'm in this position, or whatever, and just really taking a self-assessment and saying, okay, now what? Like, what can I do to be better? And we can't change anyone else but ourselves.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So when going through, you know, what we've all gone through, like squeezing and all of that, like, what are some things that you learned through that, you know, that maybe someone who's struggling might want to find hope in?
My goodness, I feel like I'm daily learning. I feel like, I mean, I am, my gosh, I mean, I'm knocking on the door of 50 years old, and I'm thinking to myself, oh gosh, you know, all the lessons I've learned. And yet I'm like, okay, but I determine the rest of my life to be the best of my life. And because I feel like I'm getting more of downloads and revelation of what it looks like to go back and decide, am I going to be pitiful or am I going to be powerful? I always say this. I'm going to either be pitiful or powerful, but you can't be both at the same time.
Yeah.
And what I would tell people is, you know, first of all, I you know, Emily, I saw one time, I had a vision, I'll say this, that it was like, all I saw was like a tsunami of muddy water. It was like just a tsunami, and it was like all these people are being flooded by, and they're just being swept away. And I was like, what is going on? Like, it was just like chaos and screaming and just whatever. And I was like, what is happening? And all of a sudden, I noticed that some people were getting caught up, and they couldn't, you know, even move forward with the tsunami. They were just getting stuck, and they were like trapped, and there was something holding their feet underneath that muddy water, and I couldn't really see what it was. But again, this is a vision, and it was so quick. But then all of a sudden, boom, I see that I'm on solid ground, and I'm above my situation. I was in the muddy water with them, but all of a sudden now I'm above it. And I'm being able to see crystal clear from the top down that they were, it was like I just knew, and God was showing me that this was life. Like, people are getting stuck in life, the muddy water, and people would try to hoist themselves up and get out of it, but they were in bondage. They were in fear. They were stuck. And basically, Emily, like, that's when I was able to see that, I was like, wow, okay, we have to realize what we're getting stuck at, and usually it's the same point over and over and over. So I would tell people, like, you know, after seeing that and having that revelation of like, wow, if we can, our perspective can shift about our situation, it can become our passport. It can free us. But if we are bound and we are stuck, then our perspective is our prison.
Yes.
It's going to chain us. So we have to get free from our perspective of our situation or life and how it's happened to us, and come up above it and say, okay, God, how can I see this your way? Help me see it your way. And so I would just say, you know, truly just to come up above our situations and going back and saying, you know, don't be a victim to your circumstance. Learn how to be the victor.
Yes.
Learn how to come above it. Learn how to fight in a different position without, like, with your dukes up, but truly with your knees on the ground, your hands lifted high, and saying, God, I know you're going to transition me through this so because you want to bring transformation. And I think your perspective has everything to do with you know, how you overcome.
Yeah.
Totally.
Absolutely. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, well, we are going to take a break, and we will see you here shortly. Thanks so much.
See you soon.